I absolutely love the PetTube community, but there's a couple things that really piss me off. The first is animal death jokes. I'm the first to admit that we as viewers can be a little bit harsh. Sometimes when it's been a couple of weeks since we see an animal, we assume the worst. So just because we assume an animal dies doesn't mean that you have to make a joke out of it or mock us. I think most of the time the subscribers are just really concerned because they see the YouTubers' pets as their own pets. I just personally don't think these jokes are funny, and with all the animal deaths that have been announced in the pet community, I don't think us as viewers are really that out of line for asking if a certain pet is still alive. I also feel like for those of us who have experienced animal deaths, I just think it's very triggering and it just irritates me. Also, this light is usually not in here. I absolutely hate animal death jokes, but there's a lot of things that you guys hate about the pet community too. Be sure to stay tuned until the end of the video where I'm going to react to your subscribers' pet peeves. The second thing I don't understand about the animal community is all the negativity towards children owning animals. It seems like every single animal they put an age limit on, and I just think that's really annoying. As someone who was a kid who owned pets, and especially considering that a lot of these pet tubers were themselves kids that own pets, I don't understand why there's such a stigma against it. I'll be honest, the majority of kids don't make good pet owners, but I don't want to use those examples to discredit the thousands of children that are actually doing an amazing job. A lot of you guys are probably younger yourselves, and I think most of you take amazing care of your animals. I think that age is just a number, and I think there's a lot of adults who do really crappy jobs taking care of animals, and I think there's a lot of kids who do really great jobs. I feel like the younger people are the ones who are always willing to learn and improve their pet care, and I think it's really dumb as a community for us to stigmatize those groups of people when really they're their best audience. The third is pet rooms. Now, I'm absolutely so grateful for my pet room. I know that so many people can't even have their own bedroom, so the fact that I can have a room just to dedicate to my pets makes me feel so privileged, but honestly, I don't really want it. I just don't understand the concept of having all your animals crammed into a room. For me, that's what a zoo is. Personally, when I have a pet, they're my companion animal, and I want them with me all the time. When I do get my own place, I definitely want pets spread around my entire apartment or my house, not just crammed to one room. Also, I don't understand how people have pet rooms just crammed with enclosures and nowhere to sit. Are you just going to your animal room and standing for hours watching the pets? I know in my animal room, I have a desk and a chair, and I spend a lot of time just working on my laptop or just sitting down and hanging out with the animals. I can't imagine what it would be like if this room was crammed with animals and how I would actually spend time with any of them. The bare minimum an animal needs is obviously to be fed and watered and have a clean cage, but I feel if that's all you can do, you're not really enjoying your pet. For me, most of the enjoyment comes from just hanging out with them, not from when I'm doing maintenance. Number 4 is probably a little bit controversial, but I feel like there's a lot of toxicity and sexism in the PetTube community. I constantly see women, especially young women, just torn down for their appearance and saying that they only have subscribers because of how they look, and I think that's so sad. I think it's nobody's business what someone dresses like or what someone looks like, so I just feel really bad when PetTubers are constantly shamed for what they wear or what type of pictures that they post, when really they just want to talk about animals. I also don't see the point of comparing all the female pet tubers to each other. Sure, a lot of them look alike, but how many people do you know that look like you? I don't think it's a huge deal that a couple of them have blonde hair and a couple of them are really young and pretty. Honestly, if I looked like any of the popular pet tubers, I wouldn't be that mad. Number 5 is scheduling. Don't get me wrong, when you have animals, even just 1 or 2, but especially, oh my god. But especially when you have a bunch, it's really important that you're scheduling things out. However, I don't understand these obsessive schedules that some of these YouTubers have. Like, I don't clean my rabbits out just on Sundays at 3 p.m. I clean my rabbits out whenever I have time or whenever their cage needs a clean. Honestly, I'm not usually even cleaning it. It's just me hanging out and just doing some maintenance while we're playing. I agree that animals need some amount of scheduling and routine to have stability, but at the same time, if you're feeding your animal at the exact same time, the exact same quantity, and the exact same day of the week, I think it can be a little bit unenriching. I know for me, sure, I have certain vegetables that I feed my rabbits on a daily basis, But it's also extremely varied, which is what keeps it interesting. They don't always get 2 cups of spring mix every single day. Sometimes they get 3, sometimes they get 1, sometimes they get none, and they just get a lot of other bell peppers and things like that. Number 7, which is one of the biggest ones for me, is quarantining or lack thereof. First of all, it seems like a lot of pet tubers don't really know what quarantining is. No shade. Whenever you bring a new animal home, there's a possibility that they carry different diseases and illnesses. So obviously, you don't want to introduce them to the rest of your healthy animals right away. Now, I think quarantining deserves a whole video on its own, and I think there's a lot of myths out there. Like, just because you buy from a reputable breeder doesn't mean that you don't have to quarantine. But I just feel like a lot of YouTubers simply don't quarantine, or if they do quarantine or say that they quarantine, they never actually show their setups. I also think for how many animals these pet tubers have and how expensive some of them are, I know many have snakes that are in thousands of dollar range. I would never want to introduce a new animal without at least doing a 3-month extensive quarantine. Okay, and the last point, which is actually brought up by one of my subscribers, Langdon and Friends. I love their channel so much, please check them out because they are not an example of this. However, a lot of YouTubers do a lot of rescuing. Now, I do have a video on why I think it's better to shop than adopt, and I think you should really watch the video before you make your assumptions. But a lot of YouTubers get a lot of criticism for how many animals they have. I myself have started getting these criticisms, which is really weird to me because I really only mainly have 3 species of animals. But I do agree that a lot of these pet tubers have quite an absurd amount of animals, and it seems like the way they justify this is that they're constantly rescuing their animals. If you're wondering what's on his foot, I just checked and it's a little bit of mud. But anyways, it seems like a lot of these YouTubers are constantly rescuing animals that either subscribers have given to them or people in their local community have given, that they've either gotten from pet shops or that they've gotten rehomed. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of these situations are rescues, but there's a lot of other situations where it seems like a YouTuber just wanted to get a pet and they decided to call it a rescue because they knew that it would be taken better. Or other times where it seems like they just went to a pet shop and got a pet because they really had to have it. Now, I do think that this is a great thing, and I do think you are rescuing that individual animal. But as a whole, I wouldn't really call it rescuing because at the end of the day, you're still supporting a chain pet store. Now, let's get on to what you guys think. Life with Rabbit says that she hates when people use YouTube as their only source of information, and I completely agree. I think YouTube can be very biased and one-sided. It seems like a lot of YouTubers are just saying the same things regurgitated. So I think it's really important that you're going to other sources and expanding your views. It's also so important that you're not basing off your facts solely off of one YouTuber because there's really no right way to care for an animal. And what works really well for me, for example, might be terrible for you. So it's important that you go to other resources. Myria Lightseeker says that she hates the toxicity and the rudeness, and I completely agree with this. I feel so sad when someone is obviously just learning about proper hamster care, for example, and they're asking questions and everyone in the comments is just bashing them. Whenever I see a sugar glider living alone or a rabbit living in a small pet shop cage, of course I get really upset and kind of angry, but I think it's important that you're not overly rude and you don't scare people away. No one makes mistakes on purpose, and I think it's our job as a community to uplift everyone and help them learn because at the end of the day, it's about the animals. And lastly, Forever Fauna says that she hates that so many of these commenters are always asking for vet care on YouTube videos. And I also completely agree. I think people forget that a lot of these YouTubers are just everyday peoples and they are nowhere near experts. Most of these YouTubers don't have special qualifications. They aren't experts and they don't have certifications. A lot of them are very experienced simply because of the number of animals that they keep and how much research that they've done, but they can't x-ray your animal, they can't feel for tumors, they can't draw blood. So I think it's really important that in certain situations you go to a vet. Now, I do want to criticize the viewers to some extent because I think a lot of the viewers can also be very entitled. You're not entitled to response, especially from bigger YouTubers, and I literally see comment threads all the time where someone asks a question, a YouTuber replies, and then they ask a follow-up, and maybe the YouTuber doesn't see it, and he just sees them getting progressively more and more angry in the comments. Those were just some of my favorite, but be sure to check out the community thread on my channel because so many of my subscribers are way more educated than me, and they're so smart, and you should really listen to what they have to say. Also, I just figured this out, but YouTube only gives you community notifications if you have your post notifications on. I was watching some of my favorite YouTubers and wondering why I wasn't getting notified when they were doing their community posts, and it's because I didn't have the bell turned on. I love hearing your guys' thoughts in the community posts, and I definitely want to give more opportunities for you guys to share your opinions, since like I said, you're so extremely smart and experienced. So I'm definitely going to be including you in more videos, so be sure to turn on the bell so you can participate. Okay, that's it from me. Bye!